Hello crocheters, welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. This is Sylvia, and in this project we are going to be working the Crochet Cardigan SHRUG. What differentiates this from a typical shrug or a typical cardigan? This is a combination of both, because with a shrug is typically, it doesn't close in the front, it's left pretty wide open. And with a cardigan, it often, usually, closes in the front. And this is a combination. This has the silhouette of a shrug. However, it can close in the front. And we are using this toggle that will allow the front panels, the front lapels, to fasten and close. So that's what makes this totally unique and totally crazy cool. So for this project, we will be using number 4 yarn, medium weight. This happens to be Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek, but you can pretty much use any number 4 medium weight yarn. And of course, we'll need the toggles. We'll also need scissors, a yarn needle, and the crochet hook is a J, or a 6mm. Now the stitches that we'll be using are super easy, but really fun, and it works up really fast. So let me give you a sneak peek of what that will look like. So we are using the crossed double crochet. So it's a 2-row repeat with a row of double crochets and then a row of the crossed double crochets. Isn't that pretty? If you've never made a shrug before, this is so easy. You're going to be really surprised, pleasantly surprised. So just as a quick, again, sneak peek, we work a rectangular panel. Of course, this still has a ways to go, but all you do is after it's done, you fold the panel in half. Then you seam up a little section, and then this becomes the armhole or the wrist hole. So this is seamed. This is the wrist hole. We'll be adding a wide border on each side, and then that's what we'll cross over and close with the toggle. But we'll get into more of that detail as we progress. This is just to show you how easy this is to work up. So let's get started. Let's get started with our Crochet Cardigan SHRUG. And I'm going to be working from a swatch just to show you how to do the stitches. And for a size small, which is what I am working, we start with a chain of 102. Then we double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. It's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Okay, so double crochet in each chain across, you will end up with 100 double crochets. At the end of the row, chain 2 and turn. Now we'll do our crossed double crochet. So skip that first space, that first stitch, double crochet into the next one. Work with a relaxed tension. Now we're going to double crochet into the space that we skipped. Pull up that loop nice and tall, and then double crochet. Skip the next space, double crochet into the next. Now double crochet into the space that we skipped, nice and tall. Skip the next space, double crochet into the next, double crochet into the skipped space. That's it. That's the crossed double crochet stitch. So all you're doing is skipping a stitch, double crochet into the next, and then you come back to the stitch that you skipped and double crochet into that. Just remember to pull up that loop nice and tall. So do that all the way across the row. When you get to the end of the row, you will have one more double crochet remaining below and the turning chain. Double crochet into the top of the double crochet below, then chain 2 and turn. So you do not work into the chain, into the turning chain. Now we do a row of double crochet. And that's the 2-row repeat, is a row of double crochet, a row of crossed double crochet, row of double crochet, row of crossed double crochet. You just keep repeating that. The row where we begin the double crochet row, we start into the very first space. So right below that turning chain, we double crochet into that space and then into each stitch across, I should say. So you're working under those 2 strand chains that form at the top. So you're not going into the spaces at all. You're going into those chains at the top. So just repeat this all the way across the row. At the end of row 3, the double crochet row, you enter the very last double crochet into the turning chain. And you chain 2 and turn. Now we repeat the cross stitch, or the crossed double crochet stitch. So this time we count this stitch here as the first one that we skip. So not the one under the chain, but the next one. So we skip that one, and we start into the next one with a double crochet. Then we come back and double crochet into the skipped stitch. Skip the next one, double crochet in the next, go back and double crochet into the skipped space, and then you just keep repeating. When you get to the end, the last stitch will be a single double crochet into this last double crochet of the row, just like that. And we do not work into the turning chain. Now for size small, you'll have a total of 49 of the cross double crochets. So you're not counting that last one there, just the crossed stitches. I wanted to mention, for additional sizing, for larger sizes, you will head over to the blog, crazycoolcrochet.com. That's where I put the written free version of the pattern, or you can go to my Etsy shop, where you will find the printable version of the pattern. And that is called Crazy Cool Crochet US, as in United States, .etsy.com. The links for the blog and for the Etsy shop and for my social media, for the detail regarding the materials, how much yarn is used, all of that is in the description area below the video in the white space. You have to click a little V next to the name Crazy Cool Crochet. That opens up that space, or it will say show more. Click on that. It will open up that description box. Now we are done with the main panel, and we worked for a total of 37 rows. We end on a double crochet row. Then you cut off the yarn. Leave a tail to weave in at the end. Now we are going to seam the edges and form the armhole or the wrist hole. So you've got this panel right side up, And the right side is indicated by the tail from the foundation chain. Is on the left side of the panel. This is right side up. There's the foundation chain. So now we're going to fold the panel from the top to the bottom. And we will seam along this edge, seaming for 11 rows. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Use a stitch marker so you know where to stop. I just use a contrasting piece of yarn, a yarn needle, and a length of yarn. Start at the corners. I always knot the ends to make it extra secure. And then use a whip stitch, so you're just going around and around. Go under 2 strands on each panel. And continue that until you reach your stitch marker. And then, of course, do the opposite side. When you are done seaming the edges, open up the panel. Already added stitch markers at the top. Let me explain that. Along the neck, the border will be 2 rows of single crochet, and around the front and bottom, we will have a much larger border, a good 5 or 6 inches of single crochets. And we will do the same on the armhole opening. We will add a large single crochet border. So now in order to do this, we need to mark where we are going to start and stop the neck border, because that's only going to be the 2 rows. And then we will continue along the front, the bottom, and the other front with the border. So you want to count the double crochet row along the edge from the seam. There's the armhole, there's the seam. So count 30 double crochets and put your stitch marker in between the 30th and the 31st single crochet. Now don't worry if you're off a stitch, it's not crucial. And then do the same for the other side. So count up and attach the stitch marker between the 30th and the 31st double crochet. Now you are going to turn the panel. This is still right side facing up, but this is the back of the neck. Okay, so there's the one stitch marker. There's the other one. So this is the back of the panel, right side facing up. Now you'll attach your contrasting yarn for the border into the space where you have your stitch marker. Leave a tail, attach with a chain. Now in the same space, do a single crochet. And single crochet in the next stitch, or the next space. You are working under those 2 strands that forms the chains at the top. Don't go into the spaces. That will leave big gaping holes. So you're working under the 2 strands. And do this all the way around until you come back where you started. When you come back to where you started, slip stitch into that first single crochet, chain 1 and turn. Now do your first single crochet into that very first space and continue around. Single crochet into each single crochet until you come back around. Now on that second row, when you come to the first stitch marker, there's the second one. When you come to the first stitch marker, slip stitch into that first single crochet, chain 1 and turn. And now you'll continue with the single crochets all the way around until you come back to the other stitch marker, and that will indicate where you will stop. Chain 1, turn, and continue so that the neck stays with the 2 rows. And now here we are back at that other stitch marker. So now chain 1, turn, and continue with the single crochets until you meet up with the other stitch marker again. Then you will chain 1, turn, and continue around. Right now I have completed the border for 5.5 inches. Now I've got one last finishing touch at the top here, and then we'll do the border on the sleeve opening. So when you get to that last row of the border, do not cut off the yarn. We're not done. Now we are going to clean up that edge. So this will fit up against your neck, and then that's the back neck. So just to clean this up a little bit and to add a little bit more width on the neck border to balance it out better, we're going to do one more row of single crochet. So at the end of that last row that you did for the wide border, chain 1. Then work a single crochet into that first space, and then a single crochet into the next space, and the next, and just keep going all the way across the neck also, and then back down the other edge, and then you can tie it off. Now for the sleeve border, I worked for 10 rows, which got me a 3-inch border. Then we add the toggle after you do both of the sleeves. You use regular, if you're using this particular kind, you use regular needle and thread. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's little teeny tiny holes all the way around. So I just used regular needle and thread and just went up and down, up and down. And you can barely even see that, the thread in the back. So I positioned this one 4.5 inches from the edge to the point, the furthest point. 4.5 inches. And then the other one, 3 inches from the edge to the furthest point. And then I believe it was 5 stitches from the top for both of these. And then when it's closed, this is how it looks. So it overlaps a couple of inches. When it's worn, that looks so beautiful. It's a real statement piece. Just that adds so much. I am absolutely in love with this. This was so much fun to make. It worked up super fast. So I hope you like it. If you do, don't forget to give me that thumbs up down below in the white space. Leave a comment. Let me know if you're going to make this and what colors you're going to choose. And please be sure to watch the rest of my videos. And while you're at it, watch them all the way through. Or at least for several minutes. That would be so helpful. I appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you on the next one.